Can we just be honest with each other for a moment? Because I know you've heard it before. Communication is the key to a healthy relationship. But what if I told you that's not entirely true? What if the problem isn't how you're talking, but what you're scared to feel when you do? What if the issue isn't that you're bad at communication, but that you're afraid to be vulnerable in a space that doesn't feel safe? Yeah, exactly that. We keep telling people to just talk it out, but no one tells us what to do when the words don't land. When you're talking but still not hearing each other. When you're saying everything right and still feel completely unseen. So let's break this down thoughtfully, like two people sitting on the edge of something real. Because communication, at its root, isn't about the words you say, it's about the energy behind them, the intention, the safety you feel when you open your mouth and trust the other person won't use it against you later. See, people keep asking how to communicate better, but the real question should be, do you feel emotionally safe enough to be honest? Let me say that again. Not how do we talk, but can we actually talk? Because no amount of skill in communication can override the damage of a space where honesty is punished, where your feelings get dismissed, where you open up only to be corrected, criticized, or ignored. You don't need a communication workshop for that. You need a relationship where both people actually feel safe to show up as they are. Because most people don't fear conflict. They fear being misunderstood. They fear being dismissed. They fear saying something wrong and it becoming the next weapon thrown at them. So they get quiet. They sugarcoat things. They keep the peace externally while slowly dying inside. And then someone says, we just need better communication. No, what you need is emotional safety. A space where you can be messy, where you're allowed to be human, where you can say, I don't know why I'm feeling this way, and not be met with a lecture or silence. Emotional safety isn't about agreeing on everything. It's about knowing that even in disagreement, you're still respected, still valued, still heard. It's the difference between arguing to win and discussing to understand. It's the difference between fixing your partner's feelings and sitting beside them in their discomfort without trying to erase it. And here's where it gets real. Sometimes we don't even realize we're unsafe because we've normalized walking on eggshells. We've adapted to being interrupted, talked over, dismissed, and we call it communication, but it's not. Real communication requires real safety, and real safety means I can be wrong, I can be emotional, I can be vulnerable without paying for it later. So, if you keep hitting walls in your conversations, if you feel like you're talking but nothing changes, maybe it's not your delivery. Maybe it's the foundation. Ask yourself, please, do I feel safe here? Do I feel seen? Do I feel like I can be honest without being punished? And if not, that's the real work. Because communication without emotional safety is just noise. But communication with emotional safety, that's where love becomes home. That's where healing starts. that's where relationships finally begin to grow. Let's go deeper. Most people don't realize this, that communication is also about the unspoken, the silence, the pauses, the tone. It's about what happens before the words come out. What kind of emotional environment exists between two people? If you're constantly managing how much of yourself you show up, you're not communicating, you're just performing. And performance is exhausting, especially when all you really want is to be seen, not watched. So many people have never felt what it's like to have someone look at them mid-sentence and say, "It's okay, I am here, keep going." They are used to blank stares, defensive responses, fix-it mode. And when you don't feel emotionally held, your nervous system never relaxes. Which means no matter how good the communication sounds on the surface, your body is bracing for misunderstanding, correction, or shame. This is why so many couples have the same fight in different forms. Because the words are new, but the emotional pattern hasn't changed. Safety changes the pattern. Because when you feel safe, you're not just reactive, you're reflective. You're more honest, you're more patient, you're more compassionate. You're no longer fighting to be right, you're trying to be real. And there's a huge difference between those two. One comes from the ego, the other comes from the heart. So, if you're someone who's been told to just talk more or be more open, but deep down it feels unsafe, trust that feeling. Trust that your system is telling you something really important. You were never meant to feel like you had to filter every word just to be loved. And if you're on the other side, listening to someone who is trying to express themselves but struggling to do it well, just breathe. Remind yourself, it's not about being perfectly articulated, it's about being present. People don't want perfect responses. They don't. They want presence. They want to feel you. They want to feel like you were with them. Not just hearing them, but feeling what they mean. That's how people start to trust you. Not because you said the right thing, but because you stayed. You didn't dismiss, you didn't jump to fix, you held safe space. And in that space, healing happens. So, no communication isn't the problem. It never was. It's the absence of emotional safety. It's the fear of being misunderstood again and again. It's the trauma of being emotionally unseen in past relationships. It's not your fault, but it is your responsibility to unlearn. To stop repeating patterns that keep you disconnected. To start asking better questions, not how do I talk to them better, but how do we create an emotional space where talking becomes natural. That's the shift right there. Because when safety is there, communication flows. Not because it's perfect, but because it's real. And real is what holds. Let this sit with you. You don't have to rush to fix anything, okay? You don't have to go back and explain yourself to everyone who didn't understand. No, you don't have to do that. You just have to start showing up somewhere safe or building safety in the relationship you're in. Because at the end of the day, we don't need more polished conversations. We need braver ones. And we need to know that it's okay to speak and that who we are is safe to be heard. And that can help you change everything in your relationship. I hope this helped you. Thanks for hanging out with me, and I'll see you in the next one.